But first, that decision today by Joe Biden, the last-minute cancellation of his trip to Australia next week and the cancellation too of the Quad Summit is a serious setback for the West. The American president wasn't just coming to Australia, he was also going to PNG to sign an agreement allowing US forces to be based there, exactly the sort of agreement America needs in the Pacific if it's to counter communist China's growing push into our region. If the leader of the free world is trapped by domestic strife in Washington instead of rallying the Indo-Pacific democracies, well, the only winner is Beijing. The fact that he can still find time to attend the G7 summit in Japan, but now not the Quad summit here, is a dreadful snub to India, the world's emerging democratic superpower, and the one country the free world needs most on side as a counterweight to China. Of course, it's not the first time that a congressional deadlock has stopped a president from travelling. President Obama missed the APEC and East Asia summits in late 2013 over a similar impasse on a debt ceiling. Naturally, the Beijing regime, untroubled because they've got no domestic opposition, made the most of Obama's absence to stress that it was more committed to the region than the United States. And given that turning up is half the battle in geopolitics, there's no doubt that this was a factor in China's relative rise and America's relative fall, backed up, of course, with billions from China's Belt and Road debt diplomacy as well. On a much smaller scale, Scott Morrison should never have let the 2020 bushfires, where he didn't hold a hose, stop him from doing what only the national leader could, namely travelling abroad for key summits with the leaders of India and Japan. Even in a deeply polarised America, it should be possible for the Democrats and the Republicans to have enough of a truce for the president to discharge his duties overseas. The fact that the congressional leadership couldn't agree to a short extension on the latest deadline shows how a shallow and self-serving political class rates domestic point scoring ahead of long-term leadership. And how ego, too, is trumping principle. Of course, none of this detracts from the importance of the US alliance. It's just a reminder of how brittle US politics can be. America remains the indispensable nation, but we can't count on America to solve our problems for us. We need our own web of alliances, our own powerful military, if we are to be as safe and as free in the future as we have been in the past.